Hello, and welcome back to the Business Solutions podcast at the University of Suffolk, the show where we bring together employers, educators, and industry leaders to share insights that help shape the future of skills and apprenticeships. Today, we've got a fantastic episode lined up. We're joined by Sadler and Ruby Nugent from Eastern Education Group, and we'll be talking all about the exciting event coming up on the 22nd of January 2026 at the Bury campus, running from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. This event is all about levy transfers, how they work, what they mean for businesses, and how both levy-paying and non-levy-paying companies can benefit by working together. Ruby, welcome to the podcast, and it's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on.
So before we get into the event itself, let's start with the basics. So for listeners who might not be fully familiar, what exactly is levy transfer?
Yeah, so it's a big thing, Gemma. It's a relatively new thing in terms of the transfer side, but a lot of people won't know. If you're a large organisation, perhaps you've got over 50 members of staff or a staff salary base of over 3 million, you will automatically pay into an apprenticeship levy pot. And that levy pot can only be spent on recruiting apprentices for your existing team. Now, a lot of large organisations have loads of staff and they don't always get round to using the levy pot, although they would try to spend a lot of it. They might not be able to spend a whole lot. So what we're trying to now encourage through this levy transfer is those smaller businesses who perhaps haven't got a levy pot, perhaps they haven't got the financial power to be able to take on an apprentice and pay for that. The large organisations transferring some of their levy pot to those guys. So those smaller businesses who are perhaps under 50 members of staff and under that kind of turnover I mentioned, they will be called non-levy paying employers. They won't pay into a levy pot. The government will fund 100% of any training costs for anyone they take on that's 16 to 21, but 95% for anyone over the age of 22. So I guess for us, and Ruby will probably allude to this as well, we're getting a lot of employers now come to us saying that they want to use their levy, but they can't because they've got too many bodies. But how do they help others that want to use it? So in a very, not brief, but long nutshell, I guess that's what that is.
Yeah, essentially it was set up to help those that had the extra money that needed to spend it to be able to share it with those people that didn't have the money. So to upskill the other workforces and grow the whole employer situation without having those small businesses out of pocket.
Absolutely. And I think we're looking at figures of around £3.3 billion that is actually given back every year from levy-paying companies because they're not utilising it. So it's really important that we help and support them by utilising it, and then also non-levy companies to be able to tap into that as well.
Yeah, definitely, Gemma. And I think that's such a big thing. You know, some companies can't use it, but we get told every week there's a skills shortage and we need more apprenticeships. And I don't think it's for the want of trying for these employers. I just think they haven't got the time or maybe resource to take any more people. So I'm sure they would be more than happy to transfer it to a smaller organisation, but it's just letting those organisations know that they've got this available to them. So yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and the actual process of it as well, it's actually a very simple process. But again, it's just educating the employers about what the process is. So that leads us nicely into the event that we've got coming up on the 22nd of January. So tell us what attendees can actually expect.
Yeah, it's a really exciting event. As I said, first of its kind, really, Ruby, isn't it, in terms of what we want to do. What can people expect? Well, it's at our XR lab in Bury St Edmunds, a multi-award-winning XR lab. We'll just get that in there. We like to say that. And essentially, people can come down, they can enjoy a cup of tea, cup of coffee and a pastry. And what we've done differently with this is we've actually made it a little bit more of a networking session. So when people book on, and I'm sure the link will be available under this video, they will be asked if they're a levy or non-levy paying organisation. They'll also be asked the kind of sector that they're in, and they'll be invited down. There'll be a couple of presentations, yours truly and I, Gemma, so don't fall asleep for those. But they will then be able to, rather than us just rambling on, actually speak to businesses who, one, perhaps they can send some levy money to, or if you're a non-levy employer, there'll be some businesses in the room that perhaps you could get a levy transfer from. So have I got that about right, Ruby?
Yeah, definitely. The way we're going to run it is to match those that are levy paying with those that are non-levy paying to start that conversation. I feel like, especially if you're non-levy paying, it's quite scary to go up and ask for money essentially from a company. So sitting around that table, 15-minute chat, it's what the conversation is meant to be. So it's then prompting that conversation for these people that have money that they need to share, can also have that, be able to start and prompt the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just said, it's about actually finding out what businesses aren't utilising their levy so that they know who to go to and where they need to go to be able to tap into that if they are looking for that extra, say, 5%, because obviously the government do put in the 95%. So for that extra 5%, it's also just educating. I know obviously we're going to go through it at our event, but it's also just educating that 50% of levy paying companies, 50% of their levy can be transferred over. So that's 50% of their levy that if they're not going to utilise can actually be utilised into non-levy companies. So it sounds like it's going to be a brilliant opportunity. So why do you think it's so important for businesses to get involved in something like this?
Yeah, I think it's massive. And Gemma, I mean, look, I mentioned earlier in terms of the skills shortage, I think most employers would like to take on an apprentice if they can. I think there's a lot of apprentices out there that would love to do an apprenticeship. And as you've rightfully mentioned, this is a levy pot that isn't being touched. This is money that you have to pay. If you're a levy employer, you have to pay into this levy pot. You might not be able to use it. Utilise this money is the biggest thing that I would say. So in terms of the event and the importance of the event, it's us talking about it. It's perhaps something we collectively haven't talked about in years gone by because we haven't known the severity of it, but it's about us making it aware. It's about us kind of raising awareness for employers to be able to use it. And with that, you're going to see more apprentices, you're going to see more people doing apprenticeships, and with that, the skill shortage is going to become no more, hopefully. You're going to get more skilled people. So certainly from a levy point of view, if you're a levy employer, I would absolutely urge you to come along. I'm baking some great goods, which you can come and eat. I'm not. But certainly you can become, at least, if anything, go away being a little bit more aware of how you can utilise your levy pot to the maximum of its ability. Non-levy wise, Ruby?
So for non-levy, essentially it's upskilling staff that potentially you can upskill before, or recruiting new staff. It's an easier way to get into it. You haven't got to pay that 5%. You can essentially have it transferred from somebody else. But I think the event in itself is just raising awareness of this for both levy and non-levy. Yeah. I've spoken to companies that are levy paying that had no idea that they were levy paying. So they didn't even think about apprenticeships because they didn't know that was a thing in general. So for levy and non-levy, it's essentially the awareness and leaving knowing that that is an option, whether you leave knowing that you've got a levy transfer in place, or you have a company that you've spoken to, knowing that that's something that you can do potentially with the bigger company that you work with or someone closer to you in your sector, is essential for this event.
Yeah, I think it's essential. And as Ruby's rightfully mentioned, it is employers being aware of what they can use their levy pot on. I think that's the biggest thing, and we'll probably all agree in this room. In terms of how you use it, probably hasn't been publicised enough, and it's raising that awareness. But again, making the most of your money. You know, if you can't spend it, then make sure somebody else has got it. And yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just literally raising that awareness and having that information in your back pocket, even if you're not going to use it straight away, being able to then to help and support at a later date, then that's what it's all about. So that's fantastic insights. So thank you both so much. So just to recap, the date is the 22nd of January 2026 from 10 until 12, and it's going to be at the Bury campus for Eastern Education Group. So we are welcoming, as we've already said, all levy paying and non-levy paying businesses interested in apprenticeships, levy transfer and collaboration. So there'll be opportunities to network, share ideas and form new partnerships throughout the morning. So how can businesses register to attend? Can you give us some more insight on that, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got an Eventbrite link which businesses can register. They can also contact your good self and me, Gemma, on LinkedIn or email or whatever. But we have got an Eventbrite link that you can go onto. So you just have to type in Levy Event, University of Suffolk and East Education Group. That will pop up on Eventbrite. You can log on. Tickets are free. It's a free event for you to come to. As I mentioned earlier, if you book on, it will ask you whether you are a levy or non-levy employer. And as Ruby rightfully mentioned, we will place you accordingly. So you're next to the people that you want to speak to. There's also a little bit of networking as well, Rubes, is that right?
Yeah. So the information is really important. We're not asking it for the sake of asking it, as we'll match you with businesses that are within your sector, as well as with the levy or non-levy, and then hopefully some of us staff as well to start the conversation and get it going in the right direction.
So yeah, we'll be there. We'll have some program tutors there. You guys will be there as well. So yeah, just looking forward to collaborating together and hopefully raising a bit of awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to be putting a QR code at the end as well, so people can scan that, which will take you straight to the Eventbrite page. So that's perfect. Thanks ever so much, Joe and Ruby. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing such valuable insights. So this event is just one of 3 levy transfer events that the University of Suffolk will be holding. We're running 3 sessions across the region to make sure as many employers as possible can be involved. So first session will be held on the 4th of December, and that will be held here at the University of Suffolk. And then obviously the second session will be held at the East Education Group in Bury. And then the third will be in Lowestoft, which will be in February. So keep your eye out for your invites soon. So to all our listeners, if you're a business looking to make the most of your levy or explore apprenticeship opportunities, don't miss this event. It's a great chance to learn, connect, and be part of a collaborative local network. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you at the Roadshow.